we're here with Liam McIntyre, the 195-pound Section 11 champion, two-time All-New York State Division I wrestler from West Hampton.
Liam McIntyre.
Liam McIntyre.
Blasting through up the middle again is McIntyre.
McIntyre.
The Mac attack.
Liam McIntyre, the middle linebacker.
Liam McIntyre is
Stud.
as advertised. He missed most of last season, came back for the playoffs, and was dominant. Liam McIntyre took over the show this year, and he didn't disappoint. He had 131 yards, 2 touchdowns on offense, 11 tackles, and an interception on defense. And he's going to be a finalist for the Hanson Award. That's my best guess.
Don't you think? Way to go out on the limb there, big guy.
Listen, I don't know what goes on in those rooms in there, but it's a pretty safe bet.
We know what goes on.
That Liam McIntyre is going to be one of the finalists.
Today we are with Liam McIntyre. This is Sports Talk with Bob Mack, and I am not Bob Mack. Since we are interviewing his son Liam, myself, Tony Guma, Paul Mahas thought it would be a good idea in interviewing some of our best athletes and coaches on Long Island if, Liam's got to be a part of that. And Bob was uncomfortable doing that, and he didn't want him on, obviously, being the humble man that he is. So I'm doing this today. So I'm Paul Bass, and this is Sports Talk with Bob Mack, and we have a very special guest today, Liam McIntyre. Liam, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Sports Talk with Coach Bass. I'm excited.
All right, couple accolades, and we start here. Liam is a 2019 graduate of West Hampton Beach High School. In 2023, he earned his bachelor's in marketing and graphic design. And 2024, this year, his master's degree in engineering and technological entrepreneurship. It's a big word for me. Both degrees are earned from the prestigious Lehigh University in Pennsylvania. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Some things that Liam has done, I think we have to start with that. Some highlights from high school. Football, 3-year starter, 3-time All-County, 2-time first-team All-Long Island, 2-time first-team All-State, 2018 Hanson Award winner, second person ever to win the Hanson and wrestle in the state finals in the same year. I kind of like that one. Yeah. The other one was Adam Mariano, I believe, in 1987. Wow, I believe. Yep, that's right. His wrestling stats: 6-year starter, the only one in West Hampton history. 6-time All-League, obviously the only one. 3-time All-County. Only 3 guys in our school have ever done that. And 2-time county champ. 2-time All-State. He was 6th and 2nd, and state finalist in your senior year. I was lucky enough to be in a corner there, and that was a hell of a way to end the career for both of us. 2-time National High School Coach Association All-American in wrestling. 171 wins, school record. First question for you then. Mm-hmm. You decided to play football in college. Why?
That's a good question.
I liked your answer when I asked you that in high school.
Yeah, I don't remember what I said in high school.
That's a good thing.
Looking back at it, probably decided to play football because of the glory in it. Wrestling is all behind the scenes work. A lot more goes into it than football. And then wrestle match may or may not get your hand raised. If you win alone. If you lose, you lose alone. You're completely by yourself. And then that night, probably, it's right back to work. I saw it with guys at Lehigh wrestling at a super high level, cutting a lot of weight. Social life goes away. It's hard, even academically, to stay focused when wrestling at that kind of level. So it's just, it's torturous. And there is glory in it, but it's a very lonely glory. At the highest level with like the NCAAs, there's a lot of people there, and it's a big moment. But outside of that, I feel like it gets lonely and it gets really hard. So playing football, kind of regardless of the level, you're playing with your boys, with your team all the time, and like you win together, you lose together. Guys may not even play; they ride the bench, but have a great time just putting on the uniform and being there with their buddies. So kind of just the glory, the fun in it. Knowing that you're not alone in it at times. Although wrestling is a team sport and dual meets are a big part of it. It's just wrestling's freaking hard. And
Yes,
and when I had to make a decision between doing one of them at the Division I level, I went with football because I saw a little more glory and a little more fun in it.
Two things with that response. That is the exact same answer you gave me in high school.
There you go.
Which honestly tells you what a genuine person you are. There's no BS with Liam. And when the longer you know him, the more that comes out. That's exactly what you said to me. And I couldn't argue with that. So obviously I wanted you to wrestle in high school and in college, you know, and I think you would have had a hell of a career. And after you told me that, I was like, I can't argue with that. You know,
Yeah.
I wrestled Division I in college. And what you said is exactly right. It's a job. And there's nothing else besides school. Second part of that answer, Liam, obviously very intelligent person, graduating from Lehigh. I forgot to mention you were a scholar athlete in high school. News 12 scholar athlete. That doesn't happen to too many. So I forgot to go on to your college career here. So freshman All-American at LIU as a linebacker, and you transferred. Why was that?
So my freshman year was great at LIU. Made a lot of new friends. We didn't have a great season as a team, but you know I ended up having a pretty good season. Got my All-American accolade, which was huge. And at that point, I didn't really have any thoughts of transferring. Going into sophomore year, or excuse me, actually even spring semester of my freshman year is when COVID started, and that kind of made everything really hard. So that
It did for a lot of people.
yeah, that spring we got sent home, which in the moment was great. I'm like, oh, I don't have to go to school for a little while. I can go hang out.
Yeah, but then you live with your parents.
I had to live with my parents, yeah, which was a lot. But yeah, COVID just made it hard. Our fall season got canceled the next year, so
Oh, I forgot that.
my summer got extended, which, like, for one personality that I have was great. You know, I got to surf and be on the boat and do all that, and that extended through the fall. For my other half, like the serious sports side of me, it like just took me out of my element.
You missed it.
Yeah, I missed it, and I wasn't on my typical grind. You know, like football wasn't right in front of me, so I wasn't working as hard for it as I should have been. And I kind of like let it go a little bit, got loose, and then I was back and forth to LIU and home, trying to make it work. We were trying to play a spring season, didn't know if that was going to happen. Rules got really hard at LIU. You couldn't leave your dorm room without mask on. If your best friend lived in the dorm next to you, like literally the next room over, you weren't allowed to go over to their room and hang out for a little bit. So whoever your roommate was, that was it. Hopefully you had a good one because you're going to be with them 24/7. And I did. Caleb Caslow was a great roommate, but we had a lot of other great friends there that we wanted to go hang out with, and constantly we're getting in trouble for just trying to hang out with our teammates.
Yeah, right.
So it was just, it got really hard there. Classes were online, so I'm like, I can't go to class. We can't really work out because facilities are getting shut down. Why stay here? I might as well go home. I live 45 minutes away. So then I was spending a lot of time at home, and the whole thing just became a big disaster, kind of made me a little miserable, and I just felt like I needed a fresh start. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to put my name in the portal. I don't know where things are going at LIU. Things were shaky with the staff. We didn't know who was going to stay, who was going to go, and that staff ended up getting wiped anyway. So, yeah, I made the decision to transfer. Went in the portal and ended up at Lehigh. But that's kind of the decision, everything leading up to making that decision.
You must have been miserable at home. And let me tell you something. I know you when you're miserable and you're tough to be around.
Yeah.
How tough was that?
Yeah.
No joke right there.
I know. Because when he's miserable, man, he's miserable. When he's up, he's up. that is true. So you go to Lehigh. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
So I go to Lehigh. I actually, in the decision-making process, Lehigh had offered me, Coach Gilmore offered me, not a full scholarship, good percentage, but not full, and Lehigh's a very expensive school. Mm-hmm. So I was looking there, and I was kind of looking at Stony Brook as well as a preferred walk-on. And I made the decision to go to Stony Brook. I had this like weird uncomfortability where I didn't want to just shoot out to Pennsylvania, not knowing anybody, not knowing what I was getting into, didn't really want to take a big risk. So I was, you know what, maybe play it safe, go to Stony Brook, play somewhere at home. Their rover, safety, linebacker kind of guy just went to the Tampa Bay Bucks. I'm like, there's a wide open spot, I can go play. So I verbally committed to Stony Brook as a
I didn't know that.
as a PWO. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. We got on a call with my parents and one of the coaches, and they kind of said, "Hey, look, we don't have a scholarship. If we had it, we'd give it to you. But we want you to come be our rover."
This is Lehigh.
This is Stony Brook.
Oh, Stony Brook. Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, makes sense. I see myself as a scholarship player, coming off full scholarship, and I was an All-American the year
Correct.
before. So, but I get it. I'll come earn one if you truly don't have one. So I verbally committed, started hopping on position calls, like a Zoom call to go over install, this kind of stuff. And I get on one day, and the coach says, Liam and whatever the other kid's name was, let's say Jack. Liam and Jack, make sure you guys don't wear your old school's clothes when you come to work out with us. And I'm like, old school? I didn't know there was another transfer coming in. So I know 20 kids that play Stony Brook. I do a little bit of research. He was an older grad transfer from an FBS school coming to play the same position on scholarship. When I was just told there was no scholarship available. And this kid committed later after I did. So I'm like, okay, there was a little dishonesty going on
credibility is important.
Yeah. So
Apparently.
Yeah, man.
there's a little bit of dishonesty going on, and I wasn't the biggest fan of it. It upset me, and kind of just got lucky at the same time. Coach Gilmore had called me again
From Lehigh.
From Lehigh, head coach at Lehigh at the time. Hey, like, I know that you're going to Stony Brook, but like, can you leave this door open a little bit? I'm going to work on getting you more money. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'll leave it open. Meanwhile, I'm like,
How soon was that
kicking it
after
over.
you heard from Stony Brook?
It was
that they had
like
somebody
right
else?
at the same time. It was like bizarrely right at the same time.
Wow, how things happen in life, huh?
Yeah, so Coach Gilmore offers me more money, probably making it as cheap as Stony Brook in-state or cheaper. I called Coach Sham, told him the whole situation.
West Hampton coach.
Coach Sham is the West Hampton football head coach. He was kind of like, Liam, it's a no-brainer. If it's me, I'm sending my son to Lehigh.
Right, correct.
And I was so upset with the Stony Brook situation, I was like, screw it, I'm going to Lehigh. Don't know anybody, don't know anything about it, but I'm just going. So I just made the decision. So it took a little while to get my transfer credits approved because it's such like a rigorous academic school.
Yes.
It took a long time to get my credits approved. So they're doing summer ball in June, July, and it's like I can't go until a certain number of credits get approved, which doesn't happen until almost like camp time. So finally,
Which is when?
Which is start of August.
Okay.
So right at the end of July, my credits get approved, and I shoot up for like the last week of like summer ball workouts. Meet some guys, meet my new roommate who's also transferring in from UMass. He got there, met a couple guys, he was like, hey, do you guys have, who's your landlord? I need to live somewhere off campus. They give him his number, he calls him. The landlord happened to have one house left out of his 30 that was right next door to all the guys he just became friends with. So now me,
That's the house I was in?
yeah. So me, two other transfers and a couple other guys get a house right next to 6 more guys that are all in my grade. So I kind of move in and just become best friends with like this crew of guys.
You guys
And,
are close.
Yeah, we were a very close crew. So it kind of just worked out perfectly. Like I got in with a great group of guys right away. They took me in under their wings. So shout out to all those guys because I had no idea what I was getting into. And it ended up being like the greatest decision I ever made.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
When you're raised with values and character, those things matter to you. Mm-hmm. And that's amazing how that worked out. First of all, the same time, the same day, really?
Like, I don't know if it was like a couple days before, day after. It was like all intertwined to like the same timing. Because after the Zoom call where I found out there was another transfer, I stopped answering my phone for like 2 or 3 days. So the Stony Brook coaches were texting me, calling me, and I just wasn't answering because I didn't know what to do. And so I kind of just blew
ghosted
him
them.
I blew him off a little bit, which is bad, which was really bad of me to do. But I was just in a weird situation where I didn't know what to do. And Coach Gilmore was kind of fitting in right at the right time, and it worked out. And then I told the Stony Brook coaches, hey, sorry, didn't realize you guys had a grad transfer coming in. He told me there was no scholarship, blah, blah, blah. And their response was like, hey, if you're afraid of competition, it's all right. We get it. Good luck at Lehigh. And I was like, oh, man, you guys.
Really?
I made the right choice.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So it was.
It wasn't about you're not afraid of competition. It was about you lied to me.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's really
And
what it's
I
about.
didn't need to argue. I'm like, I know damn well I'm not afraid of competition. So
That's right.
I don't need to argue with a college coach. But
Now, Lehigh had a stud at your position, though, right?
Yeah, as soon as I got there, they had 2 fifth-year, multiple-time all-conference guys playing the Mike and Will. I played Mike.
Explain that for
So
our people.
Mike and Will are the 2 inside linebackers. When I went, they were kind of like, you could play Sam, Mike, or Will. Sam's the outside backer. So I didn't know what I was going to play. I got there, they're like, okay, you're going to play Mike. And that was behind Pete Hafner, who was returning 5th-year, 2-time all-conference, 2-year captain, leader of the defense. And actually, he made my transition really easy because he was so smart on the field. He understood the defense inside and out, better than the coaches sometimes. And he was my camp roommate, so he had my back and helping me, pick stuff up and learn the defense.
So instead of being this guy's my competition, he took you under his wing.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
a classy guy right
yeah,
there.
Pete Hafner is a great dude. He's coaching now. He was at Holy Cross for a little bit. I think he's at Princeton now. And yeah, he's a great dude. He's like one of the best dudes I ever played with, like great captain.
And you learned a lot from him.
Yeah, absolutely. He went down week 2, like first drive of the game, tore his groin, I think. So then right away I kind of played the rest of the season. He came back and I continued to play Mike with him and then played like a third down backer, like a blitzing backer, and had a lot of success at that position. So between Mike and Jack, which was like this third down blitzing linebacker, I had a good successful year.
Explain to people who don't know why the names like that.
The Mike, Will, and Sam?
Yeah, explain it to the soccer players.
Exactly.
Might need someone to explain it to me. I don't really know.
You want me to explain it?
Yeah.
All right. Mike, Will, and Sam?
Yeah.
Mike is the strong side inside linebacker. So usually on a traditional offense, whatever side the tight end is, that's the strong side of the offense.
Okay.
So the Mike linebacker, which is where Liam ended up playing, is the strong side inside.
Let me ask a wrestling coach question.
Go ahead.
Why Mike?
Yeah, that's what he's at. I know the positions. I don't know why it's Mike, Will, and Sam.
Well, so Mike is a middle linebacker. He's the captain. He's
M. Okay.
Mike is in the middle. Will is the weak side middle.
Oh, I got you.
Sam is the strong side outside.
Got it now.
And Rover, because he's roving, he's a weak side outside. So that's language that goes back to even back when I played.
I get it. So it's the first letter.
Yeah.
Middle,
Yeah,
strong,
yeah.
weak. I get it. All right.
There you go. Learn something new every day.
Absolutely. And what happened? I do know what happened. I was actually watching it. Your last year.
So
First play of the game?
First play of the game at Villanova. So I had my full junior year, played well at inside backer, was like 208 pounds, which Coach Fett was not happy with, made me gain a bunch of weight. So I had a big winter, big summer. I got up to like 227, was feeling big, strong, confident. And first play of the game at Villanova, first play that I went in, took on their left side tackle, kind of came up to the secondary. There was, I forget what the play was, but there was nobody for him to block, so he kind of came up to the linebacker level, took me on from my left side, was driving me across this way, and I kind of put my right foot in the ground to like just try and get some leverage back on him and fight back into him. And I mean, this guy's 6'4", 315 pounds.
Correct.
So I put my foot in the ground to try and fight with some leverage, and he kind of just ran my whole body over my stationary right knee. So I tore my ACL, both my meniscus kind of fully exploded. A lot of times with like a meniscus tear, there's like 3 layers to the meniscus.
Right.
So if you tear a certain layer, they just clean it out, and like it's not even a surgical process.
I've had that done.
You're right back into it.
Right.
The other 2 layers, they got to put a suture in it, and that's what will be on crutches for a little bit.
Yep.
When they opened me up, both my meniscus, what Dr. Terpstra said was that they looked like string cheese. Like they were just fully exploded in my knee. So he did his best to kind of piece them back together. And then I had torn my meniscus in the state finals against Sammy DePrez, which I didn't know about until the surgery.
I didn't know about either. Yeah.
So I had scar tissue built up on that side of my knee and kind of in my tib fib from when I tore it senior year.
Was that during one of your splits?
No, that was he tried to tilt me. I funked from the bottom.
Yes.
Came out the back door,
I
and he
gotcha.
pinned my foot down and cranked on my knee. So there was scar tissue there, which they drilled in, microfractures into my tib fib.
Okay.
And that's basically to promote blood flow to come back and try and heal a little bit. So ACL, both meniscus like fully reconstructed, and then microfracturing the tib fib. So that
Right.
was it was a big surgery. It was worse than what they originally thought it was going to be. So it was a lot.
I can remember being so excited for your senior year, and I had called your dad, send me the link, and him and I either talk or text on the phone. We're watching you or Gavin or anybody, and I remember the first play, and I went, "Ooh," and he goes, "He's done. That's his ACL." And I'm like, "You don't know that?" He goes, "No, I know that."
Yeah.
I actually was looking at his knee when it happened. He's done. And I couldn't believe it. Like your dad knew immediately. I knew it was bad. I didn't know exactly what it was. And then, you know, watching you rehab, the amazing thing about the rehab was how you had gotten so big, and your legs were big, and that leg was so skinny.
I know.
you
Yeah.
know, after how many months?
The atrophy
Oh,
that takes place after a surgery like that. Yeah. There's a picture actually from around like Thanksgiving time. You were at my house.
Yeah.
That's probably when you saw it.
yes.
And I pulled my sweatpants down, and my surgically repaired knee leg was like that.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
tiny.
it was crazy.
Compared to your other one, was like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah, it was crazy.
How long do you think it took you to get back to even it up? I had my hip replaced, and it took me a lot longer than I thought to get the actual size of strength back. I mean,
Yeah.
normal stuff like walking around was fine, but to actually lift weights, and it was a lot longer than I thought.
Yeah, I feel like this past summer was probably when I kind of got it back.
Which
So
is
that's-
what, 2 years?
No, it's October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. It's like probably 10 months.
Okay.
Still not, like I wasn't 100% in the way I felt, but just in terms of like size,
Right.
it probably took around 10 months. You know, and there's muscle memory with that too. So your muscles want to come back. You just got to train them to.
Right. Right. You've had an amazing career, and thank you for letting me be a part of that. I will tell you, ending my coaching career with you in the state finals was an honor, and I really appreciate that. It was a hell of a way for being selfish, myself going out, and to do it with you. It was your last one. It was my last one. And that hug I gave you was about as genuine as it gets.
Yeah.
Remember what I said to you?
No.
I said, thank you.
No.
I don't
Well,
think
well, thank you because
I tell you what, that
we had
was.
to do it together.
Yeah, we did. I want to change gears right now and talk about some of your sports experiences outside the physical stuff. Mm-hmm. You competed on some very successful teams, okay? Our 2018-19 wrestling teams, 19 especially, where some of the kids that had never really done anything came out. A lot to do with your leadership, and we had a great record, had some big wins. It was awesome. And we were ranked in the top 10 in the county. You also played on 2 county championship football teams and a Long Island championship team, the only one in West Hampton history. You played Division I football. In your view, what makes a great team? You hear it from coaches. I speak about it a lot. Other coaches do. I want to hear it from a guy who's just out of all that competition. What makes, obviously talent, all those things, but there's a lot of talented teams out there. Mm-hmm. But there's certain teams that rise to a different level and exceed their talent. I want to hear from a young guy who's just out of it. What do you think are the important elements of those successful teams?
Yeah. I think there's leaders on every team that pull a couple guys in the right direction, and when that group gets contagious, it can mean a lot to a team. So in terms of like, let's say the wrestling team, and again, like leadership, I don't really know how to put like a definition on it because I've had a lot of like great compliments on my leadership throughout my career. I don't know what I did that made me a great leader. I just did everything the way I felt it should be done. You know, I don't know what about that made me a good leader, but I just did things the way that I was wired to do them. But so on a team like the wrestling team, you take myself, who was a great leader in some people's words. And you have my brother Gavin, who buys into me, and Jackson, who will buy into me most of the time, and some other guys that will buy into me. And we have a really good crew that now the rest of the team is kind of looking at. And they're like, oh, those guys are fun, and they win, and they do this, and they do that. Like, maybe we should like kind of do what they're doing. And kind of more guys buy into it. And then, we go to the diner, and it's not just me, Gavin, Jackson, a couple guys. Like, now like 3 or 4 more guys. We're like, oh, can we come with you? Yeah, sure. And you just get more guys that buy into that effect. So I think it's like wherever your leadership stems from, that guy creating a group that like people want to be a part of, and maybe doesn't feel like they're shutting people out, but like letting people in. So having the typical group of like good athletes that just want to do things like by themselves and not let other guys in is one thing, and then having the group that allows like the younger guys or the guys that aren't that good to get in on that and do what they're doing, train with them outside of the room, or go to the diner, or hang out in the stands at tournaments. I think that's kind of where it comes from.
You had a very special gift for holding people accountable. Mm-hmm. You think that's a part of a leader, and where it comes from on those teams?
Yeah.
When everybody feels accountable?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a big conversation, especially at Lehigh, was, guys have to be like a good leader. You can't be liked by everybody, but you have to be respected by everyone. So you can't be afraid to hold guys accountable. If you're afraid to hold guys accountable because you think that they're not going to like you, then you're not going to hold guys accountable. Guys aren't going to be accountable, and therefore you're not going to have the best team you could possibly have. So, yeah, I mean, I was never afraid of holding guys accountable, even my closest friends. I would get a lot of crap for it, and I would have my friends rag on me and make fun of me outside of the room and when we're at home hanging out for kind of being a hard ass. But at the end of the day, they still bought into what we were doing and the kind of the things I was saying. So it in turn worked out. I got some of it later on in us making fun of each other and things like that, but I guess it worked out.
I've seen kids that I'm really in awe of who are not. You were clearly the best kid on the team. I mean, I had to bring in a coach to kick your ass in practice to keep you humble. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
I heard he got you pretty good the first time we had him down there, right?
There were some days.
Coach Miller.
Some days.
Coach Miller.
Yeah.
He was very uncomfortable. He was doing what I asked him to do.
Yeah, I mean, there was days we were in full-blown fistfights. And,
He was like
full-blown.
He was very uncomfortable. He's a really good guy.
Yeah. Oh, no, I love Coach Miller. I still text him once in a while, ask him about, strength things.
He knows
and
his
like
stuff,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, I still text him once in a
He
while.
knows his stuff. But I can remember him saying to me the first time, I was like, light him up. And he's like, I can't do that to a high school kid. I'm like, no. He can take it. His dad knows he can handle it.
Yeah.
And
it's funny because.
And that first day, he was physical.
Yeah. Coming into it, I was coming
Because
off
he's a stud.
Oh, yeah. He's a beast. And he's a big dude. Coming into it, I didn't know that you were bringing him in for the sole purpose of kind of beating me up. I thought he was just another guy on the staff.
Right.
So I got filtered out of football into the room one day, and I wasn't doing a lot. I was just kind of there. And some of the guys who had been around in the fall were talking to me, and they're like, oh, yeah, Coach Miller's a young guy. He's pretty good. You're probably going to wrestle him a lot. And I was like, I'll super duck him first day. And they're like, no, he's actually, pretty solid. And I'm like, watch, I'll super duck him. And then I think the first day was just mayhem, just a bloodbath of, him trying to kill me and me, fighting for my life and swinging back once in a while.
That was something, just so people don't think I'm out of my mind, that's something I probably couldn't do with any other kid. I had cleared that with your father. Mm-hmm. And he was on board with it, just so you know that.
Oh, 100%. Listen, I couldn't kick his ass at home, so
yeah.
We need Miller to do that too.
I mean, there were some times I had to look away. He's a big dude, Connor. Now, talk about the leadership on the football team on those two great teams you were on.
Yeah. Cool thing about those teams, my junior year, the leadership was very divided, but in a good way. Dylan helped me a lot grow as a leader. I kind of just wanted to do everything he did.
Talking about leading by example, right?
Yeah. So on a team, he was a lead by example guy. He just did everything right all the time.
Still does.
Yeah. His effort's always 150%.
Yep.
Then you had me. I was a very vocal leader. So I was on people all the time, firing people up, holding people accountable. And then we had another kid who was a good leader, but his crew of guys that he hung out with on the side and kind of were like a little bit of troublemakers on the team. But he still had his head on straight. So he was the one guy who was able to wrangle the troublemaking side of the team. So his leadership was super important in getting those guys bought in, because those guys maybe didn't care what Dylan was doing. They weren't going to do what he was doing anyway. We're sick of listening to me yell and stuff during practice. So like they weren't really buying into either of us. But we had a kid who could wrangle them and get them in the right direction.
That's interesting.
So that was super important in getting all aspects of the team on the same page, because between me and Dylan, we could probably get most of them. And then there was like that little bit that were like, they were just doing their own thing, which like, hey, sometimes you get that, but we were able to have a guy who could pull them along, and it worked out well.
And in a sport like football, you need those edgy guys.
Oh yeah,
Like
absolutely.
You need those guys.
Oh, there were some guys in that group that kind of did their own thing that were great players.
Yeah.
So we needed another type of leadership that was able to pull them along.
Interesting. Talk about your family's role, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, in your success.
Yeah. All stems from my parents. Wrestling, playing football, even playing lacrosse. We played everywhere. To this day, everywhere I go, whether it be like to the bars like out here, or we're at an event somewhere else and I'm with like my local West Hampton friends, people are like, how do you know everyone? Like everywhere you go, people are like, oh, you're from West Hampton, do you know Liam? And then we go somewhere and then I see this guy, I see that guy. And it's like, I played lacrosse like all over Long Island. I wrestled in 100 different rooms. I played football locally. I played football in Sachem. I played football in Center Reach, just for like PAL. I played football indoor. So like to have parents that are willing to take me everywhere and filter me through programs to like, whether it to be to find the best one where I'm going to get the best work, or just to get the reps. Like I'm playing Little League football and I would play a full game, hop in the car, drive 40 minutes up island and go play another game. Like nobody was doing that. But
Sorry.
no, but it was awesome. I loved it because that's all I cared about was that kind of stuff. So to have that support system, just in terms of like getting places, being a part of it, a lot of people don't have that. So it's like they never have the opportunity to grow, get in different rooms, meet different people, find out like there's people out there that are better than you, and force you to get better. And then, at home, in terms of like, hey, mom, I'm cutting weight. And all of a sudden, the next day, the whole pantry, the whole fridge is cleared out, and now it's all healthy food. And there's no way that we're not going to make weight because there's nothing crappy to eat in the house.
Right.
I was cutting a little bit of weight for the Tommy Tough Nuts Open tournament at 23 years old the other day, and I opened the cabinet.
You didn't? Did you really?
Yeah, I was walking around.
You are sick, man.
I was walking around at like 208, 9 pounds. I had to make 200, so I cut a little bit. Cut to be like 199. It's around Easter time, so there's like these little like chocolate eggs in the cabinet. So I open the cabinet and I'm eating a couple. My mom walks by. Are you on weight? And I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah, there we go.
Seriously?
There we go.
But it's like that stuff never goes away.
Right.
And that's like, I had that growing up and throughout high school. So like, it was never just me. Like I always had support in everything. And my dad was a coach forever. He was my coach. He coached high school, middle school, every program there was, starter programs. So having a coach at home, in the car, whenever you need a coach, not that I always wanted a coach, but whenever I needed a coach, I always had one with me, like no matter where I was, at home, in the car, wherever we're going. My sister, just straight up putting up with like my bullshit, just putting up with it and loving it. As like, she did more than just put up with my bullshit. She was such a big supporter of me. Like she was always one of my biggest fans. I woke her up the night that I won the Hanson. I came home with the trophy and I went down to her room to wake her up, and she was like so pissed I was waking her up. She's like, what are you doing? And I showed her and she was like, oh my God. Immediately, like she's putting it on social media. She's telling her friends, like she's so happy for me. So having like she was another just like best friend,
Right.
great supporter that I always had.
I could tell you. I'll tell you a quick story. After we upset Francis in your junior year in the county finals. After we had a great moment, I think the second person I hugged was your sister.
Really?
I think even before you.
Yeah.
Because I think you were going great. She came out of the stands.
Yeah.
I mean, I get choked up now. She was one of the most excited people in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, as big a supporter as anyone I've ever had in my life. And then
I can't say on camera what she said when she came to me.
I remember that thing.
I was like, what?
yeah, and then Gavin. Gavin was like unbelievable, especially in wrestling. He I thought I could beat most people, and I thought that I could do a lot of things, and he just thought the world of me all the time. So I would be I'd be getting in my own head about little things, I don't know if I could beat this guy, or I'm getting nervous for this match, and he'd look at me like I got 10 heads, and he's like, Are you kidding me? You're gonna kill this guy. Any moment of doubt I had, which wasn't all the time, but when I did verbalize a moment of doubt, or you could just see it in my expression, he's the first one to be like, "Are you out of your mind? You are so much better than this guy," or this, that, the other thing. Anytime that I had the smallest little bit of doubt, or that one part of my brain was turning off or on, he was the one to fill the void so quickly. At 100 pounds, walking around with a broken collarbone, and he's like, what are you dumb?
Yeah.
Obviously you're gonna kill this kid. So he was he was so good for me mentally, and
He's wired very, very, very differently.
yeah,
Very
yeah.
differently.
Very differently, but underlyingly very much the same. Me and him communicate with eyes like nothing you've ever seen before. I know exactly what he's thinking, and he knows exactly what I'm thinking in a lot of situations. And I think expressively, he's very different than I am.
Mm-hmm.
But deep down, the way we feel, I think is almost exactly the same.
Interesting.
He puts it out in a different way.
He is that quiet confidence.
Mm-hmm.
His senior year, it's one of the biggest travesties. It still bothers me to this day. He's not all county, and he was the best kid in the county with the COVID year when they
Mm-hmm.
didn't have the counties. And he was wrestling a guy, they were ranked 1 and 2, I believe, in the county from Patchogue.
Mm-hmm. I watched it live stream at home. Me and my mom watched it.
Yeah. And it was, I think Gavin won 4-3 or 5-4. And I wasn't coaching, I was retired at that point. And I watched the match, and I laughed actually because he gets caught underneath, which when he was in 8th grade and 9th grade used to drive me crazy, till I realized he's just awesome there. He comes out of that, hits that little dump, or peeks out the other side. And so he was in situations where I think the coaches were nervous, the average fan is nervous. He is just calm as anything.
So confident.
And when the match ended, I said, "Congratulations, great match." And he said, "Coach, you didn't think that kid was going to beat me, did you?" He can't beat me. Very quiet. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't bragging. It's not like somebody talking trash that you see. And if there had been the counties, 100% confident, I would have bet my house that he would have won counties. Because there was nobody in that mindset. Yeah. He wasn't getting nervous. He wasn't getting in his own head. He knew he was the best kid in the weight. And it wasn't a bragging thing. He was it's really great to see that your dad is, he's been just talking about him and playing lacrosse after not playing for so long.
I know.
And then going down there and just killing.
Yeah. Well, when we were young and playing travel lacrosse, I would say just naturally athletic ability, I was more athletics, and it showed in a lot of things. I was just I was bigger and stronger, that kind of thing. But when it came to lacrosse, it was so natural for him. He got into such a flow state that it was unbelievable to watch at a young age. Mm-hmm. And of course, he doesn't hit that growth spurt in high school, so he stops playing. But he picked it back up and gets right back into it. And I talked to people at school about it.
Unbelievable.
And I'm like, it's club, but you don't understand. I'm like, he can play. And that's why I advocate so hard for him to do his grad year and come to Lehigh and come compete at a Division I school.
That's cool.
Go win a Patriot League championship, because I know that as soon as he gets in the room with these guys in the weight room in front of the coaches, because I see the Lehigh lacrosse guys, and I'm like, I know my brother, and I know these guys, and like he's gonna do just fine. So I advocate for that a lot because I know how successful he would be. The strength coaches would love him. It would just be such a good fit, and he would excel and do really well.
Some of his hits are
I know.
laid people
he can play.
out.
He's a beast.
It is awesome. What effect has wrestling and football and lacrosse, sports in general, had on your life, on your personality and your life?
Well,
what has it taught you?
Wrestling had the effect that played into football. You know, like the wrestling is the true effect that carries over into everything. But, you know, a story that I'm sure you've told people since the day I told you, when I showed up to my freshman football camp at LIU, and we were running 300s, our conditioning test, and I had prepared for the conditioning test for the linebacker time. So we're running 300-yard shuttles, and the linebacker time is like 60 seconds. The DB time is like 52 seconds, which is a lot harder. And we ran, I think, the first two, and I was gassed. I'm like, I got to do another one. And the coaches are threatening, like, if you don't pass all three, you're off the team. And I'm a freshman. It's like day one. So I'm like, oh, my God, I'm going to get thrown off the team if I don't pass this. And I'm, like, bent over on the line, sucking for wind. And I'm like, I swear to God, in my head, I said, thank God I wrestled. Like, that's exactly what I said in my head was, thank God I wrestled.
Because it's not the first time in your life
it's not the first time I felt this way. Yeah. And I've actually felt worse wrestling. So, like, thank God I wrestled.
Well, elaborate on that because there's always this, and I know a lot of the people that watch this podcast are wrestling people, football people.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, like, wrestling, you know, some coaches don't really advocate to play football and some do, go wrestle. I mean, you reached extremely high levels in both football and wrestling. Do you feel you could have, if you just said, I'm going to wrestle, you know, and not football? Talk a little bit about how, elaborate on basically just what you were just saying. How the two
like
sports,
why is it thank God I wrestled?
Yeah.
There's just like a part of you that has to either be there or develop over time in order to wrestle and wrestle at a high level and succeed at a high level. To cut the weight, to get in the shape, to take the mat by yourself with nobody behind you, and just have a physical fight with another guy for 6 minutes. You know, there's got to be like a dark side in your head, a switch that you got to flip to be able to do that because you're going to war. Like you really are going to war.
That's a great place to put it because most people just say wrestlers are effed up.
Yeah.
You know, like, but they have a dark side.
Like you have to have it, and like in the training side of it, you know, you got to go to really, really deep waters to be prepared for moments like that, and just the training, physically, mentally. There's not really like a way that I can put it in words unless like you've done it to understand it. But yeah, I mean, just the mental side of it, the physical side of it, the conditioning, the cutting weight, going to war.
But you said when you were running those 300s,
Yeah.
thank God I wrestled. So does that mean like, because there's no quitting you?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
you could quit
mental,
in the
that's the
300s,
mental.
but because you wrestled, you know, I can't quit. I wouldn't quit.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist in my
and he
DNA
didn't
now.
quit, and he didn't quit.
Yeah.
Like, is
Didn't
that
the
what-
coach say something to you? Like I thought I remember you telling me something where a coach said something to you at some point during hard drills or something like that. McIntyre, you wrestled, right? Yeah, you're all sick or something like that.
Yeah.
Or we can't break you or something like that.
Yeah, I forget. I don't between the two schools and the amount of stuff we did. I don't remember where, but definitely a lot of wrestling comments. Like,
But don't you think? I think football helped you in wrestling because I think it helped your physicality.
yeah, 100%. I mean, playing inside linebacker, and you know, it's a bruising position, and you got to be able to hit hard and be explosive. So that side translating into wrestling was definitely
Well, I guess that's what I was saying. They're complementary sports.
yeah.
That it's a good thing if you play football and you wrestle. I mean, there's
Absolutely.
a lot of people, wonder that. You know what I mean?
Well, it leads me to my last question.
Good.
There's a lot of parents today and a lot of kids today who are taking young kids. I don't mean in your junior year in high school and specializing. They're specializing at a very young age. You are the poster child for someone who plays sports, plays a lot of sports. I mean, I know I've been around your house enough to know that you guys will play anything, play anything in the backyard. Not only that, you played lacrosse off season, during season until ninth grade. You played football for all those years, and you were wrestling. What would you say to parents now who say, "Hey, my kid's got to get a college scholarship or whatever. We're going to specialize in whatever sport." You know, and I'm a wrestling guy, and I want to have kids that have played other sports.
Yeah.
What would you say to parents who want to specialize a 10-year, 11-year-old kid?
Well, I would start by letting your kid do whatever they want. If they want to play 10 sports, play 10 sports. From there, break it down into seasons. You can't play basketball and wrestle and ski and snowboard. It's just, you can't do it all because they overlap and it's too much. So do what you want when you're young. Play a lot, play everything. Figure out what you love, what you're really passionate about. Keep playing those sports. And then if your kid, not if you decide that your kid wants to get a scholarship and be elite in one sport, if your kid makes a decision that, like, they sit down when they're like, oh, I want to win the states in wrestling, or, I want to be a Division I football player, then it's time to have a conversation like, hey, if that is a real dream that you want, then you have to sacrifice for it. Because most guys that win the states in wrestling are not 3-sport athletes. It's just not the case. So if a kid really wants, there are two, and you can play more than one sport and be elite. Like, I played football and wrestled, and I balanced them both well. But sports were the only thing in my life. I didn't ski or snowboard. I didn't do much else. Like, it was half the year wrestling, half the year playing football, and intertwining the two. But if your kid wants to buy into something, then buy into it. But if they want to be a really good wrestler and a really good football player, then they can do both with a good balance and parents that are going to support the decision and keep them going. But again, leave it up to the kid. Let them understand that if they want to be great in anything, no matter what it is, there has to be sacrifice. But I don't let the kids do what they want to do.
Well, not to jump in on your thing here, but you started this whole interview off saying that football was fun. Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting to just go back to the fact it's sports about having fun.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, wrestling is really hard, but it's still fun.
Right.
And I mean, more of the fun probably comes from hanging out with your guys in the bleachers at tournaments, in the locker room, doing stuff like that. But again, if it was not fun ever at all, nobody would do it. If it was just 0% fun, nobody would ever wrestle.
It's fun to get your hand raised.
To Coach Bass's testament, what he's saying is, it's like a lot of parents drag their kids. It no longer becomes fun for some athletes.
Yeah, you got to figure out what fun is for you.
What you're saying is just, do it and have fun at it. And that's the thing that will have kids flourish, I think.
Yeah.
I think what helps is, just like you said, the physicality of football, I think, helped you in wrestling. Mm-hmm. And I think when kids play other sports, especially when they're younger, they play other sports, it develops skills that you're not getting in the one sport. Mm-hmm. A friend of mine was a very successful lacrosse coach. He used to recruit basketball players for offense. I don't know anything about lacrosse. And wrestlers for defense, because wrestlers was stick on this guy, stay disciplined, and the attackers could see the field because it was like guys cutting down the court and things like that.
So at Lehigh, our linebacker coach always said that I was our best blitzing linebacker, and he would show me blitzing on tape to the rest of the linebackers. And what was great about my blitzing ability was kind of my shoulder displacement. So basically my bend. When I would approach an offensive lineman, I would approach him at his chest, and at the last second, a big bend and kind of knee dip in my shoulder and drive back around. And if you watch film of me doing that, and you watch film of me
shooting on a crutch,
ducking somebody, it's a lot of the same shoulder and knee displacement. And my linebacker coach said, he was like, Liam's a wrestler, that's why he bends like this. I know you guys didn't wrestle, but try and do what he's doing, because he's the best blitzing linebacker we have. And it was really because of the way that I could move, which came from wrestling.
Right. Yeah. Well, John Madden, the great John Madden, had said if he had it to do over again, he said, I would never have drafted anybody but offensive linemen and defensive linemen who wrestled. That's all I would ever do. He said, if I had to do over again, linemen, just because it's hand fighting.
Oh, yeah.
It's body position.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm good. What am I missing here?
So Liam,
Yeah.
you and I think we were watching TV the other day, and there was something on, I think it was on TV, and it was sort of life after, right? So when you were in high school, a lot of people in high school wouldn't have minded being Liam McIntyre, right? The Long Island championship, the wrestling, 2-time county champion, all states, all those accolades, and it's really cool. From a parent's point of view, and I'm sure you've had this with the success of your kids, that's what seems like an awesome life. At some point it ends, right? And there's a lot of guys, it ends high school, or it ends after college, or it ends in the middle of a pro career, but it ends. Who is Liam McIntyre after sports? How does he re-identify himself? And because I think there's a lot of athletes out there that they've always been identified as that athlete, but they're successful human beings. You know, Coach Bass is no longer Coach Bass anymore. Bob McIntyre is no longer Coach Mack anymore. Now I'm trying to do this thing. He's doing it with me, Coach Guma. You're reinventing Liam McIntyre. So what are you doing now? And what would you tell those athletes about that glory and then the rest of your life?
Yeah, that's a great question. And still trying to figure it out. But I think just taking the approach that I took in sports and kind of just being all in and doing everything to the best of your ability, and bringing that approach to school and work life and family life and friend life is going to continue to help me be Liam McIntyre, just doing everything at a high level. So, you know, my career, hopefully I will do it at a very high level and I'll be very successful in it and continue to be like the successful Liam McIntyre that people knew. Without playing sports anymore, I have like this weird need for adrenaline kicks in different ways. And I found myself like when I surf, I push myself a little more than I used to. I was very comfortable with like just doing like a little bit and just going out and having fun. And surfing was kind of the one thing I didn't have to compete in, because I competed in everything else. So surfing, I could just go chill and have fun. But now I like to push a little more.
Surfing's playing a different role for you right now.
Right. Yes. So I'll, paddle out on a day I didn't used to paddle out on, or make a drop on a wave I would have never paddled for in the past, because that adrenaline kick, I'm craving it a little bit more.
Don't make me save your ass now.
Well, you know what? The one good thing is for him, probably a good thing to make him not worry as much. If I was an above average swimmer, I would be chasing probably very consequential waves. But I know I sink like a rock, so me pushing my limits is still not that consequential. If it was you in my shoes, you'd be trying to surf like Nazareth.
We'd have problems.
We'd have problems. But I know that I sink.
I still do.
I know I sink like a rock, so I'm not, pushing my limits in a consequential way for me might not be consequential for you. It's a very different consequence, but it still gets my adrenaline going.
I'm glad you brought that up, because, and I should have asked that. That's why you're the main host. That's why you're the main host, and I'm just filling in. 'Cause I find that most athletes, most wrestlers, elite wrestlers, find something in their later life. Marathons, triathlons, extreme. Alex Tansman, I just had lunch with his dad 2 days ago. He graduates from law school this year. So a friend of his drove out. He says, Alex, let's just fly home. No, we're going to stop. He's doing extreme rock climbing lately. So they're going to stop at 4 places on their way home, because he wants to do, because he's been studying. So he's got to do that stuff. I mean, when I was doing triathlons, half the field was ex-wrestlers. Sometimes not even great guys, just had that wrestling mentality. They needed their fix. Connor's been doing marathons now. drives me crazy because they're no good for your body. Bike racing was another big one. Jiu-jitsu. Every gym on Long Island, half of them are ex-wrestlers looking for that contact.
Well,
Kevin Turbish, Kevin's got to be graduated in 97, so what is he, 40-something? 44, something like that? He's like, I just needed that contact. I needed to roll with people.
Well, because I played football for the past 5 years and haven't wrestled in 6, like I got that kick from wrestling again.
Right.
And when I signed up for that open tournament, I was like training in the Lehigh room with like the legit Division I kids and going down to any room I could get in and doing like crazy hard bike workouts and like just like I went laser focused for like 6 weeks to get ready for that tournament. And actually like in that time I'm like shit, should I try and wrestle next year? Should I do one more year of school and go wrestle? But it's a lot, so I didn't chase that route as much.
I knew you were doing that because you kept sending me videos and everything else.
I was dialed. I was really dialed.
I can tell you now, I had said to my sons and a couple other guys, I'm like, I don't know who Liam's going to have in the first round. I said, but I feel really bad for him because this is a fat and ball tournament. Luckily, you had a college kid, which I was really happy with because I was really afraid, not for you, I was afraid for if it was going to be an older guy. I was petrified.
He was falling out of bounds, and he was just like, "How did I sign up for this?"
Well, it was funny because that kid, and I mentioned that kid was a college starter.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He was like,
Liam
"Holy cow!"
He was state qualifier in high school.
That's a tough draw.
He was state qualifier in high school.
Yeah, the reason why he's wrestling in college, he tore him up. Absolutely tore him up.
Well, you know what?
Actually, there's another question I wanted to ask, and I ended too soon here. I don't even look at my notes, I guess. You started a business really early with T-shirts. Talk about that a little bit. How old were you when you started, and where are you now?
Well, the first shirt I made was probably like 8th or 9th grade. The Garlicks, our friends from Australia, had come over to visit us when we were in I think I was in 6th or 7th grade, and they had like this saying in Australia, "waxy life," and that was like a surfing term, like waxy, like waxing the board. So waxy life was like a saying they had.
What did it mean? What did it mean?
I don't know. It was just like waxy life, like salt life, like that salt life sticker. So it was waxy life, like the surfer's life thing. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I just started making like these random like T-shirts with like a shock on it and different designs, and it was like waxy life. So that's like I did that, and then I did that when I was young, like probably 8th, 9th grade, and then like I stopped it pretty quick, and then I got into something called Merch by Amazon, which is a print-on-demand program, basically where a designer can submit their designs and it gets produced in a Amazon factory. So I'll put a design online. You can go find it on Amazon on a shirt. You can buy it. They print it, send it to you, and I get a cut of it. So I did that for a little while in high school and the start of college. Pushed it a little too much because I got in trouble with some copyright and like trademark infringement. I got shut down for building some stores. And then during COVID, I was in my dorm room at LIU, just bored, just like on my computer, just
you bored is not a good thing.
Yeah, trying to come up with something. And I texted one of my buddies. I was like, "You want to start like a surf brand? Like, what do you think? Like, should we come up with something?" And I started just like shooting out names. It was like Brown Bear Surf Co. And it was going to be like a bear holding a surfboard as a logo, or like East End Surf Co. or like Moriches Bay something. And just like in the mix of it, not like a favorite or a least favorite, was like Black Sails Surfing Company. And one of my buddies was like, "Oh, dude, Black Sails, that's pretty cool. Like, it's like the pirate like life thing." And I'm like, "Yeah, like that could be cool." So I came up with a design. I sent it out to a designer, got it back. And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." I made like one shirt, had it. I'm like, "Oh, that could be cool." And like never did anything with it. And then a little bit later, got bored, saw it, and was like, "Let me get back to this." So I took that design, sent it to another designer that I liked their style a lot better. I'm like, "Hey, like make this for me in your style." They sent it back. Came out really, really good. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to get some shirts made. I got like 30 made, posted them on Instagram, showed some people, like sold them out right away. Then I was like, all right, let me get some more. I got like 30 more, sold those out again. And then started coming up with new designs. Got like a designer in Bali that I use when I come up with an idea. Like I'll sketch it out, send it out to him. He makes it in his professional way, sends it back to me. Comes out really good, and that's kind of where it's at. I've been making like T-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, all that kind of stuff. Sell it online. Gonna sell it at Island Surf this summer in West Hampton.
Well,
So more
can I
than
jump
that.
in? Because
Yeah.
I see a lot of parallels. You moving into the we're wrapping up, but let me just
Yeah, good.
just in the business world, right? And when you were in high school, you wrote a whole screenplay with
Oh yeah,
one of your friends. So this, but what it sounds like to me is you're already moving in this team mentality. You have your friends, you're throwing ideas around, you're writing a movie, you're still in high school, you're entrepreneurial with this. It sounds like a real sort of metaphor, the same metaphor, the way you approach sports now that you're moving into an entrepreneurial mindset, to move into like adulthood or like into the
Which
world.
that's what we're just talking about.
Yeah, that's
And
what I'm
pass that
saying.
on.
It's like, but I see the same parallels of surrounding yourself with creative people and talented people. The same leadership you had on the field and in the wrestling room is moving into the business.
yeah. I mean, the dream would be to start something that makes enough money where I can employ my friends, employ my brother, and like have the people that like I love and want to be
Teammates.
around work for me. Yeah, my teammates work for me,
Essentially.
or not work for me, but work with me. Black Sales right now, I wish it was profitable enough to pay my friends to be a part of it, and my friends are part of it in terms of support and like being there and pushing it and everything. But I just, it's not making enough money to pay them. But that's definitely like the dream, is to one day be able to pay the people that are close to me to so we could all work together.
Yeah. So
That's part of that, whether it's a physical thing like triathlons or the surfing or whatever it is, but that's a piece of that. Many successful business people, or many successful wrestlers, are successful business people, because it's as simple as you outwork people. You have a different level of fatigue, a different level of commitment, because the sport is so brutal.
Yeah.
I think you might remember the last 10 years, somewhere along the line of my coaching, there was an article in one of the financial newspapers, one of the big ones, Barron's or somebody like that, and it was wrestlers make the best employees. And it was written by Wall Street people, because it was just kind of like wrestlers. They're sick. They just outwork everybody, And I've seen that in many stories from ex-wrestlers, where they'll say in their business, somebody's the end of the day, and they're new, and they're not really trying to impress somebody, but they're working on something, and everybody else is saying it's 5 o'clock, we're cutting out. I got to finish this.
But you would see in your career, 30 plus years, having ex-wrestlers and seeing the ones that,
that's
like,
what
I'm not surprised that wrestler is now this business person, or this lawyer, or that successful. You can see the parallels that we're talking about with Liam right now.
That's what
moving
I'm
into-
talking about.
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking about.
It's
I mean, the amount of guys, the other thing we have a lot of is military guys. The amount of military guys, and who tell me, boot camp? Everybody complains about boot camp. It was like not even a tough wrestling practice. Boot camp. We have guys who Navy divers, SEALs, Army Rangers. We got a guy who's a secret agent for the government. We don't even know what he does. It's just because they fit right into that. So anyway, Liam, thank you very, very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was awesome.
That was I had a great time.
Tell me your best story together. Like, you tell me about him about you. Like, I want something from you guys. Best story.
My favorite one.
I was gonna say, take a second to think of a story. I'll think of one, and then let's see if it's the same story.
Probably gonna be the same story.
All right, now
What's your story?
You got yours. You got yours.
The week before you were wrestling Nate.
Yep, that's fine.
Oh, really?
The Nate story, yeah. Yeah, the week before, everything.
I
Everything
started
through.
that on Monday with you.
So tell who's Nate?
I'll give you my side of it, and you can interject. I'll give you my side, and then give us your side.
Your side will be sufficient.
Well, we're gonna need the behind the scenes from your side, but basically, my junior year, I'm wrestling at 182. I'm ranked second in the county. There's a kid at Sayville ranked third. He's a senior. I'm a junior. We're both undefeated, and we could have wrestled like twice during the year, and we didn't. Like one time, I think my ankle was a little banged up at the Corey Hubbard duels, so I didn't wrestle the whole day. And then I think there was a second time that we could have wrestled but didn't. And
It was?
I think probably like a dual meet. Were they not in our league? No, I'm pretty sure there was 2 times that we could have wrestled because they were like Liam is dodging Nate, like twice he dodged him. They were calling me out saying that I was dodging.
Oh, I think you're right. I think we did, and I think I bumped you up so we could win the dual meet.
Yeah, something like that. So basically, they're saying I'm dodging this kid. I don't want to wrestle him. I'm afraid of him. Kind of calling me out when it was really just like we just happened to not wrestle twice.
Now, where was that? Social media? Is that was happening?
No, they were like saying that at tournaments, like they, or maybe it was just you.
And the chirping in the stands and the kids.
Yeah, people like to run their mouths, or it was all him. So yeah, I was gonna say I don't really remember where it was coming from. I guess it was all just Coach Bass.
Well, he'll tell. I guess he'll tell his side.
Yeah,
back.
so we're getting ready for what Sachem East. What tournament is it?
Yeah, it's the last tournament of the year.
Sachem East tournament, last tournament before the postseason, and Coach Bass. Okay, I grew up a total head case in wrestling. Total head case. Coach Bass finally got me to not be a head case. Didn't listen to the outside noise, didn't look at the brackets, didn't want to know anything about anyone, just wanted to go and wrestle. And all of a sudden, this week comes along, and Coach Bass decides to start firing up my old head case. And he's like saying that Sayville's like saying all this stuff about me, and I guess that's where it all came from. That I was dodging him, and I don't want to wrestle him, and I'm scared of him, and all this stuff. And I'm kind of like, what the hell are you talking about? And I guess you were doing it during the week.
Start on Monday.
Because what I remember is the morning of the tournament in the stands when I wanted to like wring somebody's neck. So I remember being in the stands. You could tell about the week leading up to it because I don't even remember that really.
You were pretty fired up. The truth is, on that weekend before, Coach Pesco, who's a very good friend of mine, and he got pissed off at me for this one. So he called me and said, "Hey, what are we going to do? We got Franzese, we got Liam, and we got Nate at the same weight, and 95, there's nobody there. So, what are we going to do for the counties? For the leagues?" And I said, "I'll tell you what, let's have Liam and Nate wrestle this weekend, and the winner can choose where they want to go." And he said, "That's fair." He goes, "What weight are we going?" And I said, "Let's go 82. I said, "Okay." So we both knew you were going to go 82. Mm-hmm. And that was on Sunday.
Okay.
So on Monday, that's when I came in and said, "Coach Pesco's putting him at 82 because they have no problem with you. You've been dodging them.
They're not afraid of you.
You've been dodging them, whatever." And your first words out of your mouth were, "I got to be careful screaming on this thing." Was, "He can't beat me." And I was like, I don't know, Liam. That's not what they're saying. They're pretty confident. So for that week, you got worse and worse and worse every day. And the Friday before, if you remember, I didn't even let you wrestle anybody on the team because you were so fired up. And I hope Coach Mitchell watches this someday because he was teaching, or he was a fill-in at Hampton Bays, and he was trying to get a job at Hampton Bays, a teaching job. And what happened was right at the end of the day, because I said, "Hey, get here early. You are the only one wrestling me today," because Coach Miller couldn't be there. And I said, "He's fired up and he's not touching anybody." I said, "I got his head right where I want him." I said, "But I'm not letting him touch Hunter or Jackson or anybody because he's going to hurt him." And you just went. I know when you're in that zone because you won't talk to anybody, and you just. So he calls me. He goes, "Coach, they just called an emergency faculty meeting. I'm going to be late." I said, "Okay, got to do what you got to do." He's looking for a job. Mm-hmm. I said, "Well, when you get here, get down here right away and get your shoes on and get rolling." Okay. I didn't really tell him that you were like crazy cranked up. So we start practice. You warm everybody up. You're yelling at everybody, and now you want to drill. And I won't let you touch anybody. So you're pacing, "Coach, I got to work. And I'm like, "Coach Mitchell's going to be here in a minute. Just wait a minute." I know you're getting worse and worse and worse. You just want to hurt somebody. And he comes in. He's been sitting in the classroom for the last 7 hours. He comes in. He's like groggy from a teacher's meeting. And I said, "Will you hurry up and put your shoes on?" He goes, "I got to warm up." I go, "Just put your shoes on and let's go." He puts his shoes on. I don't even know if his shoes were tied. And he kind of does this with his neck, and you walk up and you go, "Let's go." And he slapped his hand and hit him with a jab double and blast him right into the wall. He wasn't really ready. And he looks at me and I go, oh, by the way, Liam's cranked up today. He goes, thanks for the heads up, Coach.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, see, you haven't fired up.
And then the Saturday morning, you were out of your mind.
Yeah.
You were more out of your mind.
I just remember being in the stands, and typically, like, tournament day, as stressful as it is because we're wrestling, like, we have such a blast. Like, all the guys are just, like, hanging out, having a good time. And I was so miserable because I couldn't even hang out with my friends. Like, tournament didn't start till 9, 10 o'clock. We weigh in at, like, 6 in the morning. So we have those hours we're just sitting around. I couldn't even hang out with my friends because I was so, like, twisted in the head. So I was just sitting there with, like, my headphones on and, like, just, like, I don't even know how to explain the headspace that I was in. And you tripled down and you came up to me in the stands. And I forget what you said, but you said something.
So we're at the HME's tournament. You're out of your mind, and everybody's waiting for this match. The crowd, I remember, I was watching it the other day, was amazing. People came from all over.
Do you have the full match?
Yes, I do.
I'm going to have to get that. I don't know.
You sent it to me.
Oh, maybe,
A long time ago. I saved my stuff.
I don't know.
So the funniest part, again, was we get to the finals, and Gavin was in the finals, wrestling the kid from Sachem East.
No, he beat the kid from Sachem East in the
DeResta.
summer.
The
Kings
Park.
Park.
Oh, DeResta, that's right. So he was in the finals. And Gavin's going out, and you're not wrestling till 182. So
Yeah.
normally I always have you guys
Gavin's at 99.
Sit down, relax. It's going to be an hour before you wrestle, at least before you got to warm up. Relax, don't waste your energy. Gavin goes out. You put your stuff on the corner of the mat and just start pacing. And you're doing that bouncing thing because you got the music on, and you're bouncing and you bounce. And so Coach Miller, Coach Petrulius,
Coach Mitchell, probably.
Mitchell,
Yep.
and DeTore were all there. They all come up to me. They were great. Those best assistant coaches. You had a lot of them. They were so into it. They go, Coach, you got to talk to Liam and have him sit down. He's going to burn himself out. And I said, no, just leave him alone. Don't talk to him. Don't do anything. He's right where I want him. Just leave him alone. He's going to burn himself out. I said, no, he won't. Trust me. This has been going on all week. He's not going to burn himself out. And then you went out and teched him in the beginning of the third period.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you remember what happened when he came off the mat?
Yeah. I shook your hand, and I think I said, don't ever do that shit again.
You said, don't ever do that to me again.
Oh, is that what I said?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were like,
And
you pulled my hand.
I didn't let your hand go, and I pulled you
Yeah.
back, and I said, number one, don't ever use that tone of voice with me again.
Yeah.
But number two, did it work?
Yeah. I was like, yep. It did. Yeah.
And then the big decision after that, which is another great story, was, are we going 82 or are we going 95? Do you remember that conversation we had? That was a closed-door office one, just you and me. Remember that?
Barely.
Because there were forces around
Yeah. He knows.
who wanted you to go, 95, and some other people, and telling me you got to do that. And I had learned as a young coach never to tell a kid where to go, and I learned the hard way. I mean, most of anything that I ever did right later on was because I screwed up as a young coach. And I remember telling a kid, remember, this is the best way to go. It didn't work out. It became my fault, and that kind of ruined our relationship. So, if you remember, you sat down on the couch, and you kept saying, what do you think I should do? And I go, I think you should do what you want to do. What do you feel? And you said it. You go, Coach, I don't know. My dad and some friends, whatever, want to go. I think Frank was, you got to go 95. And it was, you would have walked through 95. Like Nate walked through 95.
Yeah.
And you finally said, Coach, I'm an 82-pounder. I want to go 82. I can beat Franzese. And I said, then that's what we're going to do. And then going into the leagues wrestling Franzese for the first time, you probably didn't even notice because you were all jacked up. But I didn't do a lot with you that week on the legs because I didn't really care if you lost in the leagues. Because there's only one that matters. Only one that anybody's going to remember. It's going to be the county final. And there was nobody at that weight that was touching either one of you.
Meanwhile, I had the worst tournament of my life at 82.
No, your semifinal was your worst. That was bad.
Well, how it looked. I remember. I think I wrestled in a pigtail match to start the county tournament at 82, and
because he wasn't a league champ.
Because I wasn't a league champ,
Yep.
and I pinned a kid in like 15 seconds, So from the outside looking in, it looks normal. But I just didn't feel right. Like I just did not feel right at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wrestled the West Islip kid, the Malachi kid, and like
Central Islip.
Central Islip. Yeah. And like
Malaki.
Yep. Ended up pinning him. But like
It was 0-0 for a while.
I was having trouble taking him down. Yeah, I was like frustrated. I just wasn't wrestling well.
Yeah, but you gotta understand, that was a great coaching job. They were stalling. You know what I mean? They were
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to keep it close.
Yeah.
That's what you do when somebody's better than you.
Yep.
So they were doing their right thing.
And then my semifinal match was horrible.
You remember that one?
Yeah. Oh, do I remember that one? Yeah.
You remember that one?
Oh, a little bit.
Yeah, that was like probably the first time in like a while that I'd gotten mad at him because after the match, and it was probably the first time in a while that he
Lost.
like had emotion towards me through
And me.
through something because like I won, so I'm going to the county finals, which is like a big deal to me.
But you stopped wrestling at the end of the match, and he had you cradled.
Yeah.
He locked up a cradle, and if he had gotten two backs, it was a lot closer than it ever
Coach,
should have been.
I asked Liam this question recently. You and I have the conversation all the time about reflection
Yes.
and how you treated your kids and how you treated your wrestlers and stuff like that. And I took a lot of pride in the fact that when Liam was a little kid in football, I started talking to him on a car ride home about a football game, and he got really mad at me. He's probably like 8 years old.
Right.
And I learned very quickly, we're going to leave it on the mat, we're going to leave it on the field, whatever. And so I said to him, because I try and pat myself on the back thinking that I did a really good job. And I said to him, Lee, have I ever yelled at you or said anything to you after a wrestling match or a football game or a lacrosse game? Because I knew how competitive he was, and Gavin. So I never
Twice.
really. And he said,
Yeah, twice. Once playing Central Suffolk football, I was like 11 years old, and I broke the tip of my finger. Got hit with a face mask, and broke the tip of my finger, and I came out because it hurt. I just broke my finger, and he yelled at me from the stands, like, "Get back in the game!" And I yelled back. I was like, "Shut up," because my finger hurt. And then the second time was after the semifinal match. Although I knew I wrestled like horribly, I was like, I made the county finals. Like, this is a big deal. And I sat down next to him, and I don't know what he said, but like, I think he freaking ripped me. And I was like, can you just be happy? Like, I made the county finals. Like, how about a congrats or something? And like, those are the only two times that like was ever. I don't remember what you said, but
I think I just said like what happened, and not like, wait, congratulations, you go to the county finals. Like, he sat down in the stands, like, whew. And it was honestly, and I'll say this right now, his mother was like, what's he doing? What's going on? What's he doing? Like, because this kid
during the match,
tech
pinned him earlier in the year.
Like just was staying close with you,
Yeah.
and then put a cradle on, and poor Kelly was like, what's going on? Like, there's no way this should be happening. So he comes off the mat, like, I just made it to the county final. What happened? And he goes, you're not happy that I'm going to the county finals? And I was almost like, no, like, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
What you don't know is he lost it on me afterwards.
Really? For what?
Yeah.
How was it your fault? I was just wrestling
I
bad.
was sitting
had to
there,
get my
you wrestled
emotions out
bad. I
so bad.
realized your head was in a really bad place, and I had to do something about it. And he came running up to me. Now, to be fair, I've lost it on him, but with good friendships, you know who people are down deep. We've both acted like idiots at different points in our lives. And so he went over to me, and he said, in my younger days, we probably would have gone at it in the middle of the gym. But I knew what he was feeling. I was disappointed too, but I was trying to be really careful with your head because I knew you were in a fragile place. Mm-hmm. And he walked up and he said, that was disgusting. I don't know what you're going to do about it, but you better fix this. And Connor Miller, very protective of me.
Oh, he wanted to fight.
He was going to go kick his ass. He's like, he can't talk to you like that. I go, relax, Connor. He goes, he can't. I said, Connor, I've lost it on him before. We've been friends a long time. He needed to vent. He vented. We're gonna fix this. And then do you remember what I told you to do?
Go home.
You went home.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to watch any wrestling, it's great. If you feel like it, pick your 4 best matches of the year and just watch those. And then you went home. Him and I, if you didn't know, him and I were talking the whole time. What's he doing? What's he eating? Whatever. So that went really well, and I think it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, I went home with again, it was that crew, like me, Gavin, Jackson, like those. It was like 5 or 6 of us. And I think we played Fortnite for like 2 hours, and we were literally like, you know how close you get with wrestling guys, like laying on each other and stuff. We were in Gavin's room, laying in Gavin's bed, like 5 of us, basically like cuddling each other, just like laying around, playing video games, like no wrestling. And then they went and got pizza. I was like, I'm not eating pizza. So they went and got pizza, came back. And then we were so like involved in just like hanging out and like forgetting about it. I think he came upstairs and was like, all right, like time to go. And I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go wrestle. I forgot about that. And we got in the car. And on the way there, I think I watched actually my football highlights. Like to stay away from wrestling, but I watched my football highlights to try and remind myself. I'm like, hey, like dude, you're a bad motherfucker. Like remember that. Like go have fun. And it still didn't even work. I was warming up in the back room, still losing my mind. Dylan Ryder had just lost to Sean Carter, and Dylan Ryder's ranked like top 5 in the country. And the immediate thoughts in my head was like, oh, Dylan Ryder lost, so it's fine if I lose. Like that's the big story of the night is Dylan losing. Not it won't be me. Like you know what I mean? That kind of thing. And Ryan Darbyshire came back and warmed up with me a little bit, took my head like away from it a little bit, but I still like couldn't get out of that headspace. Like it was like flickering in and out. And I came out at 170, and so David Miliastrella was wrestling. Nick Blanton beat him 10-0, and with 7 seconds in the third period, just an overwhelming like serenity just hit my body, like took over. Like everything that I felt the whole like tournament just was gone, like that. I remember looking at the clock; it was 7 seconds, and everything left my body. And then I took my headphones out, and before every match, I would listen to Meant to Live by Switchfoot. That was the last song I would listen to before every match. Like I would make sure I play it last. Took my headphones out, put my stuff down, and in between matches, they would play a quick, like 10 seconds of a song, just like time, whatever. They played Switchfoot, Meant to Live. Like the same exact song I was just listening to, they played, and I was like, oh, this is meant to be. Let's get it. And then I went out, and it was like new person, like just firing, just ready to go. And it was just like everything was just different from there out. So yeah, that was it. that was that county tournament.
Yeah.
It was a crazy one.
I would say that. I mean, like, so how do you compare, right? I mean, I know R from Mom and I.
I know what he's going to ask.
You know, of course you know. We probably had this conversation. But the Innocent match, the Francis as a junior, and the Long Island Championship. Like,
yeah. Football is very different. Like, Long Island Championship was different. I don't really know exactly why. There's no way to put, like, it's different because of this. It just was different. It was more like a community thing. Like, it was the whole team, the whole community, the student section, the parade back home.
There's that picture right there.
Yeah. The parade home.
There it is.
Like, it was a very community thing. County finals and the Innocent match, like, you could see by my reaction in both. Like, the county finals, I was, like, fired up because it was, like, the job was finished. Like, that was it. And the whole match was, like, I dominated the match. Like, I was in control the whole time, and I was just, like, I owned it. The Innocent match was almost more like a chess match. And, like, as physical as it was, and, like, it was a good, hard, like, wrestling match. It was more of a chess match, and it was kind of like the last, like, 30-second pull-out win. When it ended, like, that's what I did. I was like, holy shit, I can't believe that just happened. So it was, like, two different feelings. One was, like I just did that. The other one was, like, holy shit, I just did that. Like, kind of in disbelief. Both, like, unbelievable feelings in different ways. But, yeah, I don't really know how to compare the two.
Yeah. What do you call the move that you hit?
Don't even go there. Don't even go there.
Someone's got a name for it.
Don't even go there.
Someone's got a name for it. Put it in the
Liam's
comments.
kid likes to rush, right? It's okay, coach. I'm just going to spin out of it. This is not middle school. We don't spin out of this in the state semifinals.
Mm-hmm. I know.
And what did he do?
Apparently we do.
Yeah, well, it almost cost me because it didn't work.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well,
really? That's why I told you not to do that.
Yeah. I couldn't get to his legs. I was having a hard time. He was like a stocky, quick kid, side to side. Couldn't get to his legs.
He was second in the state the year before.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, good kid. So I was like, I had to come up with something. So in my head, I was like, I'll let him get a Russian.
After we talked about it, don't do that. Yeah.
I'll let him take a Russian and 360 out of it into like a single or a double or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave him the Russian. I went like this, and he like touched my hand. It wasn't even grab a Russian.
You went too quick.
Yeah, he barely touched my wrist, and immediately I
Right.
went for it. And as soon as I spun, like I came around, and he was already chasing the corner, like chasing. And I mean, he had it. He kind of beat me to the corner, picked my leg up, and I think I grabbed his wrist, and he picked my leg up, and kind of as he picked it up, I kicked it, sat through my other leg, and threw his wrist behind my head, and like ducked him, I guess. I don't know.
You did like a sit-out duck under standing up.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
don't know what the heck.
And then you got the worst stalling call ever. It's that upstate. Upstate. You literally were on top for 7 seconds. Boom.
Yeah.
Stalling.
Yep.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
They don't like those blue singlets.
No. And then you remember where you came underneath, you had an underhook in the last 3 seconds.
And he
you
tried
almost,
to run it.
You almost lost your balance. on
Yeah.
it. Thank God
Yeah.
you're a hell of an athlete.
Yep.
And then what you said to me afterwards, I cried my eyes out when you said that. That was,
I love you, man.
I took my
We have that video.
that whole tournament.
I have that one saved. That's one of my favorites.
Every match, I think probably the whole year, end of the match, I would take my headgear off and I would just throw it to the corner. Not like a celebration or anything, just like giving you my headgear. And I forget if it was that match or if it was that whole tournament. You were like, hey, don't throw your headgear because the refs are going to look to bang you for a point. So I got up and took my headgear off, and you were like, don't throw it. I love you. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I was like, I don't know.
That was good.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Great job, fellas. To do the audio,
You can lower it?
It's not terrible.
Well, no, it doesn't really
just
come
be
across,
conscious of it. That's all.
I never had these problems with News 12, just saying.
Your father told me that, just to be clear.
I know. I just found this out last week. My degree is not in mechanical engineering. News to me and about half my class.
What do you know?
Oh, it's not?
It's Masters of Engineering in Technical Entrepreneurship. Not mechanical.
Masters of Engineering
In Technical Entrepreneurship.
Technical entrepreneurship. Right.
Yeah.
And it was the School of Mechanical Engineering.
It's School of Engineering.
Oh, I think it was mechanical.
So did half my program. I had up on my final slide presentation this past week, giving my business venture pitch, and I had like the team slide, like me and like why I'm capable of doing this company. I had like received my degree in mechanical engineering from Lehigh, and at the end my professor was like, "Go back to the team slide," and he's like, "I'm like, yeah."
That's okay with me having that there?
I'm like, yeah, mechanical engineering, right? That's what we're getting. He's like, nope. Texting Mitch, I'm like, because we were in different groups of design. I'm like, dude, apparently we're not mechanical engineers. And he was like, since when? I'm like, I don't know. It's news to me. And he's like, no, dude, we definitely are. I'm like, well, apparently not. And I told my professor, I'm like, me and Mitch have probably told 400 people this is mechanical engineering.
Including your father.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just finding out now.
I just found out 4 days ago.
Okay.
Give us some good outtakes first.
Sack for Lehigh. Back inside the 20. Transfer from LIU.
Here, and I don't like the spot as well. Looks like watch a second effort here. He's caught in the backfield, and it's close. It's really close. Just shy of the 3. Didn't get much of a push. I would have liked to see right there Sutton bounce that and use his 225-pound body on the outside end on Latrell Wimberly, who's the corner there.
reach out for me. Reach out for me. Reach out for me.